Hi, I'm Chris Valley. I'm with Laurel City Historical Fencing. Today I'm with my friend Bob Brooks from the Hotspur School of Defense. Can you give a little bit about yourself?
So I started HEMA in 1994 when there was no HEMA, and discovered a group within the fencing club at Napier University who were looking at historical treatises, mainly smallsword. I studied avidly for the next 10 years, set up my school in 2003. So we've just celebrated our 20th anniversary.
Congratulations.
And our focus is on the fighting arts of the Holy Roman Empire in the 15th century, and we look at both German and Italian sources. So Lichtnauer, non-Lichtnauer, Fiore di Libri, Vari, and also some of the non-Lichtnauer sources such as von Baumann or Codex Wallenstein, and a lot of Messer. And we study predominantly the longsword, Messer, poleaxe, spear, dagger, and wrestling with a little sword and buckler.
Excellent, excellent. Now, what got you into HEMA? Of all the different martial arts in the world, what got you to HEMA in the first place?
Growing up in a county, England's border county with Scotland, which has more castles per square mile than anywhere, and so when you grow up surrounded by so much history, it's in the blood. And having studied history and been interested in knights and all the usual things that kids are interested in, it was the discovery of sport fencing, really. So modern Olympic fencing, which I did from circa 1987 until about 1995. And then the HEMA took over, and that was it.
Excellent.
That was it, hooked.
Now you're here today. What are you here for today specifically?
So the workshop I'm going to do today is a deep dive into a peasant fighting tradition from the German parts of the Holy Roman Empire. So looking at the Langesmesser, and I just found a woodcut that intrigued me, which shows a peasant brawl. And there's peasants spilling all over the ground and standing up and swinging blows at each other. And the text is quite amusing. It has a scroll with some text in it, which in German says "Haust du mich, so stich ich dich," which translated into English means "Cut at me and I'll stab at you." And I discovered the image when I was writing the book. I've just published a book called At Your Mercy, the Foundational Guide to Messer, which looks at the peasant tradition of Messer fencing. And this image fascinated me because the first thing I thought was, I wonder how this fight panned out. Because you've not only got Messers, you've got a pitchfork, spear, longsword, an arming sword, and a club. And some guys armed with Messer, and having heavily studied the social history of 15th century German civic society, I began to ask the question: how would this fight pan out? And so I built a workshop around that. So we'll teach the fundamentals of early Messer fencing, because Messer fencing changes fundamentally in 1478 with the publishing of a manuscript called Kunst des Messerfechtens, or the Art of Messer Fighting, written by a vicar in southern Germany. And he comes from a very rich tradition where there are a lot of Messer books, or a lot of Messer treatises predate this. And the ones that come from southern Germany, so the area around Nuremberg, Augsburg, tend to overlap quite a lot. And what we find is that this is the early art, and taken on their own, they don't make a lot of sense because there's not much instruction in them. But when you study Lekushna, it gives you because Lekushna really expands the art, and he does something that hasn't been done before, which is to shoehorn all of his Messer knowledge into an already existing system. So he puts it into Lichtnauer's longsword system, which is an artificial construct that doesn't seem there's no evidence for it existing before. And so we're going to look at what inspired Locutioner, because he contains a lot of what appears in the other manuscripts and expands on it hugely. Locutioner's manuscript is 400 pages of just meta.
Yeah, I've not gone through every play in that one yet myself. It's a goal, but it's going to take a while.
And what inspired me to write the book, which again is going to form quite a large part of this workshop, is being asked the question over the last, certainly over the last 10 years, what's the best treatise to begin studying Mesa? And to be honest, I got tired of hearing the same answer being given, which was Locutioner, because to me, Locutioner is the PhD of Mesa. So you really must, we really need to begin in junior high and learn where this art comes from. And so I was inspired to write the book as an opening guide, as a beginner's guide. And so I collated 3 sources with some supplementary material from other sources to create a syllabus of early Mesa, and that's what the book really contains. And so we're going to look at not just the mechanics of early Mesa fencing, but how it fits into German society at this point in time. And so we're going to look at a lot of obscure laws, and look at how we can control the outcome of a fight depending on the severity of the fight itself and whether there's any degree of escalation in there. So it's a little. I tend to be regarded as somebody who teaches quite obscure workshops, but my goal really for this entire exercise is to encourage people to think about the historical background, and this really informs a lot of what we see in the fencing manuals. They're written within the milieu of their culture at that time, and so it's not just what is it and how do we do it, but why is it the way it is, and that's a really important question. And I can honestly say that Mesa, the study of Mesa, I've been studying Mesa for 15 years, although I did Dusak way before that, and Mesa completely changed my approach to all 15th century fighting arts, because it's written in the context of the society of that time. And so really I want people to think about not just, like I said, what it is and how do we do it, but why is it the way it is, because that generally informs the way you fence.
Absolutely.
So that's really what I want to achieve today, and yeah, it's going to be fun. There's going to be a lot of interesting moments.
Absolutely. Now, we were able to get a pretty good-sized group of people coming.
Yeah.
And we got, of course, a lot of our Laurel City people. I think half the class is going to be all our local Laurel City folk. But we also got people from all over Connecticut, New York, and Massachusetts to come in for this.
Yeah.
Some of them, like I know some of my students, especially the older students or senior students, have done a little bit of work with Mesa before. Sometimes I'll literally just bring some trainers in on a quiet night and say, hey, let's mess around with some hanging parries or something like that. But I'm not sure, because I know some of our Italian friends that are here haven't really done Mesa before, and I don't know about everybody else. So there's going to be a mix of experienced and less experienced and things like that, fencers. But for everybody walking away, what's one thing you hope every student walks away with today?
Really a newfound appreciation for the fighting arts of the most common people in society, because we often focus on the arts of the rich and the powerful, and yet this is the fighting art of the common man. This is the Colt 45 of the 15th century. And so,
as compared to like the Paul Scala manuscript written for a very rich duke and things like this, it's a little more.
And so it's really the ultimate aim is to give people an appreciation of how sophisticated the peasant fighting systems are, and that this can be used in such a wide variety of circumstances, because every man will be carrying one of these in their regular daily life. And so, you're going to market, you're going to be wearing your Mesa, and you're in the fields, or traveling between towns. And so, what you've got is not just a utilitarian tool, but a very quick and able method of defense as well. And so, we'll also be looking at the evolution of the peasant from the beginning of the 15th century to the emergence of the gentleman because we also see quite a lot of social change at this point in time. And so we see the emergence of the Fechtschule or the fencing guilds, and this is an attempt to gentrify those in society who have common status, but in some respects have made quite a lot of money, and in some cases more money than the aristocrats. And so the fencing, as we see, becomes becomes a badge of station, something as well as something that is a mark of one's culture.
Excellent. It's fascinating learning about not just the martial side of things, but also looking at the historic context for it too. And I think that's something we don't get that from Fecht books themselves.
No.
So we don't. There's not notes about who's using this in particular, or there's not notes about societal laws or rules or mores or norms or anything like that.
No.
It's just like, here's a picture of a guy stabbing another guy in the face.
Yes.
So having that context is always fascinating to me, at least personally. I love geeking out over this stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to this seminar. I know my people have been talking about it for a month now. They're getting all hyped up for it, and I'm going to put in the description below a link to Bob's book if you're interested. And let's go have a good class.
Awesome sauce.
Is embedded within the fight manuscripts themselves. We find that if we begin to ask the question, why is the manuscript arranged in this way? Why are we seeing certain types of actions? Then we begin to understand we have to ask questions and delve deeper into the society in which these arts existed. Because these arts did not develop in a vacuum. They were an outcome of societal norms, and we're going to look at this quite heavily today. Because arguably, this will change the way you fence.
We don't have to get into it, you know? Now we're getting into something very different.
Close, push up, pull down, and it's going to pivot and round, and it's not a pleasant sensation.
Oh no, yeah, that's very uncomfortable.
And it's going to get him tipping over this leg, and this is... Yeah. Yeah. He says specifically in that piece of text, this is for holding landmarks. Don't tell everyone this. Just he would not cast roses before. Yeah, and I'm going to be holding them away until they come in to do something. Boom! And I'm in for the hand. And I want that hand. He makes a spear thrust. I play the Zorro, yeah? I treat it like a thrust with a messer, and I wrap his spear up. And from here, I go in and into with cuts and thrusts. If he perceives with a thrust, so he's gone in and I've gone here, I get him this way, okay? And again, I'm going in like I did the grip on the wrist. Coming through, if he's trying to withdraw his spear or turn his half towards me, I'm going in with chops. Yeah? For example, this action. will not generally be worth it because he will just realign his point. So you could play that first, so he thrusts in, I put it away, I zone him, I take the weapon. Now I've got
one thief and then attack all the odd weapons and then mix it up from there.
What I think we should do is this is a live scenario where one of us is just going to start attacking and stabbing.
Go get the authorities because I saw some thrusting. I saw some thrusting. I'm gonna get the authorities.
Come on, kill people!
Well, Chris says I suck.
Here we go.
I thought your mother's a hamster.
Whereas I don't know if it's the other way around.
Don't step on me.
Do what I want.
Oh my God, they're spilling out.
Oh, I didn't see you coming.
You got him, Allison. Oh, nope, that's a
Salute. Present.
Thank you.
Thank you.